All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. So you might have heard of this story, right? We've been talking about it. Professional boxer Pulev, who with Top Rank Boxing, he's interviewing a female reporter by the name of Jenny Ravallo. There's video of this. At the end of the interview, this boxer kisses her on the lips, unwarranted, and he lost his boxing license, at least for now. And there was another meeting this morning, and the woman who represents Jenny Ravallo is on the line with us right now, stouted attorney for sure, and Gloria Allred joining us right now on the line. And she was at that commission meeting, I believe, this morning. Gloria, how are you?
Just fine. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your show. I think this is an important issue.
Sure.
Not only for California, not only for Las Vegas, but frankly, it's an important issue around the world.
So, no doubt, I agree with you, Gloria, and that's why we wanted you on, and we want to cover the story and continue to cover it. So, can you tell us what happened at this commission meeting this morning?
Sure. And of course, you correctly described that. Earlier, and actually back in March, the California Athletic Commission suspended Kubrat Pulev after a video of him went viral, clearly showing him grabbing the face of and kissing on the lips Jenny Ravallo, who was a reporter, as she was interviewing him in a post-fight interview. And by the way, at the last meeting of the California Athletic Commission in May, the commission members clearly warned him that he was not to engage in what they called slut-shaming, end quote, of Ms. Ravallo. So while he himself appears not to have made public derogatory statements about Ms. Ravallo since that last meeting when they warned him, his employer and his promoter, Bob Arum of Top Rank, who I believe as a matter of law is also his agent and representative, has done what Mr. Pulev was warned not to do. Now, in an interview on IFL TV, which was posted on YouTube on June 15th this year, Mr. Arum made blatantly false statements about Ms. Ravallo, including stating that she was, quote, fooling around, end quote, and which, of course, was false, that he said she was with Mr. Pulev while he was in training months before the fight in question. And Mr. Arum also said that Ms. Ravallo was acting as Mr. Pulev's, quote, semi-girlfriend before the fight, end quote.
So are you going to go after him then? Are you going to go after him lawsuit-wise, financially? Obviously, this is a man with a lot of money and a lot of power.
Well, no, I'm not. Jenny is not interested in seeking money. She did feel that it was important to speak out about Mr. Pulev and Mr. Arum because there need to be consequences.
Right.
And so today, in the last meeting, the commission ordered Mr. Pulev to take a sexual harassment course that would be approved, and he took that in Nevada. University, UNLV, had such a course. And so he presented evidence today that he had taken it. And then he said also that he apologized. He felt that kissing her was a mistake. Of course, I think it's an intentional act. It wasn't a mistake. Was not a mistake.
It looked pretty intentional.
But anyway, he had his license restored today. And by the way, this has had serious economic consequences for Mr. Pulev because while the suspension was in effect in California from March until now, many other states, in fact, all other states, as far as I know, honored it. And so even though they're not required to do it, which meant he couldn't fight in any state in the United States, and that meant that a June fight, which I understand he was hoping to fight, which could have yielded a big purse for him,
sure,
he couldn't fight. So he suffered economically from this. And of course, publicly he's also been criticized. And, to be suspended is serious. And also the commission's warned him if he engages in any similar conduct in the future, he's going to be suspended for life from boxing in California.
Gloria, he was also fined $2,500. Do you believe that fine was reasonable, or should it have been more?
I couldn't hear your question. I'm sorry. He was fined. I don't know if he paid it, but he was fined.
Do you think that $2,500, do you think that was a reasonable fine, or do you think he should have been fined more?
We're not look, well, the main thing is his license was suspended, and he now also has a warning that he could lose his license forever if he engages in similar conduct. So, he is under scrutiny, and he will be under scrutiny by the commission in the future. And by the way, I will be also watching Mr. Arum's statements, conduct. And if there's any woman who alleges that she has been the victim of Mr. Arum, sexual harassment, since he didn't think that grabbing a reporter and kissing her on the lips is sexual harassment, even though that's why the Athletic Commission, who, by the way, also licenses Mr. Arum, should, I will be interested if women contact me about Mr. Arum and looking into whatever they allege, if it's sexual harassment or anything else.
Can I just say this, and I don't mean to make a joke of this in any way, shape, or form, because it's a very serious situation, but, 99% of the women I'm in contact with, if I just went up to them and I kissed them on the lips, I would go to jail, and I'd probably be in jail for the rest of my life. I mean, you can't just go up to a woman and kiss her on the lips without thinking twice about it just because you're a professional boxer. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it makes me wonder, Gloria, to how many other women this man has done this to if he thinks it's just okay to kiss somebody on the lips.
Yeah, I don't know. And also, by the way, this is an employment situation. She's there doing her job, getting an interview, and it's all being recorded. She's got a selfie stick recording it. And she alleges that he asked her, a little later, he asked her, not to post it. She said she wouldn't post it, and then she thought about it, I think a day or two later, and she thought, the public needs to know what's happened here. And so then she did post it, and that's when she got, more than 1 million hits. So it went viral. And so it's an important issue, and I think that Jenny has done this, gone to the California Athletic Commission, asked that the suspension be, continue, because she was doing it not only for her but for other women, because she doesn't want others to be, have their jobs interfered with by boxers or, frankly, anyone else who might decide that they just can do it. Why? Because they want to. That's why. That's not a good enough reason. He tried to say that he was so happy, that's why he kissed her, because he just want to fight. That's not a defense. At another point he said, well, she was a friend, which clearly she was not. He had to admit to that. And even if she were a friend, that doesn't, I have male friends. They can't, I have partners of 43 years. Actually more than 2 male partners, a number of male partners. And, they can't just grab me and kiss me on the lips because they've known me for 43 years. Right. This is just not appropriate, as you point out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gloria, I would agree with you as well as Brian and JD that the punishment for this seems pretty much ridiculous to me. But that being said, there's been a lot of discussion, of course, about California, right, and his boxing license there. Are there any steps that you can take and your client can take legally to maybe extend that out to other jurisdictions, for example, right, other commissions, other states where he could possibly end up fighting or trying to fight or trying to, a.k.a., make a living to...
we're not, if he does anything in another state, let's say, mm-hmm. Certainly that's something I would also bring to the attention of the Athletic Commission in that state. So I think it's really important that, both Mr. Arum and Mr. Pulev take this seriously. Mr. Arum, I'm very, very concerned about, because he said things like, and everybody can see the video, which is on YouTube, and he says, I know what sexual harassment is, I really do, but that wasn't sexual harassment. And he says other things.
Gloria, I wonder if you'd say the same.
What kind of message does that send to over 100 boxers that I understand he represents?
Gloria, I wonder if he would say that if it was his daughter in that video.
Well, that's a good point. And Jenny made a point today. What if a man grabbed him who had a bloody face because he just finished boxing,
right,
and was cut, and kissed Mr. Arum on the lips?
Yeah, that's a good point.
How would he feel about that?
That's a good point. There has to be a line.
Or, as you point out, kissed his daughter on the lips.
Right.
Not acceptable and not okay. So what kind of message does Mr. Arum send to the more than 100 boxers that he represents when he doesn't think this is sexual harassment, even though the commission found that it was appropriate to, say that Mr. Pulev, you'll take this course, Or if you don't want to take the course, you don't have to, but you're not going to fight in California until you do. You'll be suspended. Right. So, I'm concerned that other boxers may think, okay, their boss, that is Mr. Arum of Top Rank, who is their employer, thinks it's not sexual harassment. So are these other fighters going to think it's okay to grab women reporters or any woman?
Well, no, of course not. And I think you're doing some good work there, because hopefully other boxers see what transpired here, and they are going to think twice before they even try to pull what Pulev pulled.
And that's a really, really good point. What if a presumably homosexual man were to grab, who was a reporter, working on the job, were to grab a boxer and do the same thing?
It could happen, no doubt.
It could absolutely take place.
No question. Listen, Gloria, we thank you so much for the update. We really do appreciate it. We are always going to continue to monitor this story. We hope that Pulev learned his lesson. Hopefully Bob Arum keeps his mouth shut, and we will continue to monitor it. Thank you so much for your time.
You.
We
Have
appreciate
a great
it.
evening. Thank
All right,
you.
take care.
Thanks a lot, Gloria.
There you go. Gloria Allred, attorney representing this woman in this case. And listen, you can't just kiss a woman on the lips. However, I will say this, and I did mention this the last time I spoke with Gloria. Didn't want to mention it here, but this woman who was kissed on the lips was partying with his guys. And in a video,
and
you can see
that was after
this
fight.
incident, she was giving one of his friends a lap dance.
But it wasn't him.
It wasn't him, but he was about 20 feet away.
Right.
She was giving one of his friends a lap dance, and all I'm trying to say is that is unusual behavior for somebody that was just sexually assaulted, okay? If somebody sexually assaulted me, I don't think I would be 10 or 20 feet away from this person, and giving somebody a lap dance. Not that they would want that anyway in my life, but you understand the point.
I'll tell you what, the punishment seems really, really small. A class, okay, $2,500 is basically nothing to some. I'm sure this guy's purses are at least $600,000, $700,000. But it's all about money. It's all about lost revenue, but it doesn't set a great precedent moving forward as far as respecting somebody, regardless of sex, regardless of anything, of sexual orientation, who was working, who was doing their job, who gets borderline assaulted while they're doing it, on air.
Yeah,
it doesn't. The punishment to me doesn't fit the crime, but it does make sense. I mean, this is Nevada, California. A lot of these fights take place, and there's a lot of money at stake here.
Here's the thing, JD. If they didn't have this on video, nothing would have happened.
Oh, of course.
This has happened before plenty of times, and there hasn't been any accountability. Just think for a second. If this wasn't on video, there is no chance that anything would have happened here. And in this day and age with cell phones, and I understand she was conducting an interview, which makes this guy even much more of an idiot, that in fact he did this with a video. And then it's interesting what Gloria Allred just said, that he asked her, this reporter, not to post it. I do find that pretty interesting too.
But it brings back memories of Joe Namath, right, on the sidelines of Monday Night Football with Susie Kolber, right, the whole ESPN thing. That's what I thought of when the story came to light. But quickly, and I don't mean to be gross, but it's not just about the act of it. It's you got a busted up boxer with his face, with lacerations on his face and stuff, and he goes in for an all out on the lips kiss to a reporter. That could be physically dangerous from a standpoint of if the boxer has any type of illnesses or anything. So that's that. And I'm not trying to be disgusting. I'm just trying to point out,
Chris,
there's
you're being
one
really
more
disgusting.
element of it.
You're being really disgusting
because I'm good at it.
What are you
That's
doing? What are you doing?
It's solid.
Chris, that's filthy.
You know what? This has been a fun show. It's been fun for a lot of different reasons. Number one, we do enjoy talking politics and news, and we did for the first 30 minutes, and we took a lot of phone calls on that. But it's been fun to talk a little hoops, because I'm kind of getting back into that mode of college hoops. Not that far away. We still got a few months, but I'm kind of getting excited for college hoops again. We got a fantastic WNBA All-Star game coming up this weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun. The best female players on the planet. I'm excited for that. And talking a little boxing, too, possibly Mayweather-Pacquiao. We are in a great city, man. What does not happen here in this town? I mean, I know we don't have an NBA team yet. I get that. I know we don't have a Major League Baseball team. We're getting the Raiders. But, I'm at the Westgate the other day, and I'm in an elevator, and you know who pops in? Mark Davis. I'm having a conversation with Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, in a Westgate elevator. He's talking to me for 5 minutes. It's just me and him, and nobody recognizes this guy. Nobody. So it's just me and him outside the elevator. He's commenting on my hat. I'm wearing a golf hat. It's a ridiculous-looking golf hat, so I don't get sunburn, right? And I don't even know why I'm wearing it. And he looks at it, and he goes, I really like that hat. Where can I get that? And I looked at him and I said, I'll tell you what, Mr. Davis, if you give me 1% ownership of the team, I'll buy you 10 of them. And the guy just floored laughing. He just could not stop laughing. He pats me on the shoulder and, he said he'd come on the show eventually. So I'm taking him for his word on that one. But how cool is that? It's in Vegas. That stuff happens in Vegas. Mark Davis walking around the Westgate by himself, going into an elevator. You don't see that very often. And this is a guy that's worth $1 billion. The guy's worth, it's crazy, but really super nice guy.
Yeah, and he's the owner of the Raiders, and that's quite a picture right there, JD. You got one guy with a beautiful head of hair, and another guy with a nice shiny head.
Well, I definitely,
right there in the elevator.
I definitely haven't had a beautiful head of hair since I was 16 years old. Anyway, Chris, thank you so much for coming in.
Always a good time.
Always appreciate it. I hope you can listen in Wednesday night when Michael Avenatti and Danny Tarkanian square off in studio on Wednesday. That is going to be fun. Another show in the books, the legend himself. Yes, he is a legend. I know he likes to hear that, too. Ken Thompson coming up next. That's right. Coming up next. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great night.